I want to talk about democracy and the right of a free people to have their wishes honoured by the political establishment. The British system of parliamentary democracy has long been held up as a glowing example of the expression of a free people and their right to elect representatives to carry out their wishes. And yet, for years the suspicion has been growing amongst the British people that their representatives have ignored their wishes and don't give a damn what they think, except for every few years at election time, when they pretend to care. And that's during a vote-garnering charm offensive. This led to a loss of interest in politics for a while, with the electorate beginning to fall into the familiar mantra of, they're all the same. Then came UKIP's surge, leading to the British referendum on membership of the EU. Politics became important again, and exciting. The people of our nation cared again about a great issue of the day. Passions rose, and politics was once again the top of the agenda. As the referendum results started to become clear, Nigel Farage appeared on TV telling us we could dare to dream, and that freedom and independence was very nearly ours again. The people had spoken in overwhelming numbers. The UK had voted to make its own way in the world, with a bright and exciting future outside of the rigid constraints of EU membership. However, from that point on, a problem became clear. The British establishment had no idea how to react to a result that they never expected. The first sign of this was David Cameron flouncing from the scene like a spoilt child. This was probably the first time in his privileged life that anyone had ever said no to him, and he simply couldn't cope with the overwhelming rejection of his pro-EU spin by the British people. We then endured a year of inactivity, while Mrs May and her overwhelmingly pro-EU colleagues wrestled with the reality of having to enact the will of the people, despite their own personal objections and reluctance. Then came the ultimate example of the weak and pathetic leadership our country is saddled with, when Theresa May somehow contrived to lose her overall majority in an election she called and led the campaign in. Now we have a situation where, due to the crippling weakness of the British Unconservative Party, the hard left extremists of the Labour Party are flexing their muscles. According to an interview given by The Guardian, Labour Shadow Brexit Secretary Keir Starmer is threatening to derail the whole process unless Labour gets huge concessions. The Labour Party only needs the votes of a handful of Conservative Euro fanatics to derail the government. And as we all know, there are more than a handful of Conservative MPs who are more than willing to betray the best interests of our nation and laugh in the face of our sovereignty. Brexit is at a perilous stage. The forces of the establishment are gathering again. They are throwing everything at trying to deny the British people their democratically expressed wish for freedom. The constant refrain is of a soft Brexit and the terrors of true and full independence. Project Fear is back. The establishment are trying to scare us away from freedom once again. Let us be absolutely crystal clear. There is no such thing as soft or hard Brexit. There is only leave or remain. So-called soft Brexit means we stay inside the single market with all of its constraints, rules and regulations, and of course, free movement of people. In effect, soft Brexit is no Brexit at all. It's the role of the UKIP MEPs out here in Brussels to scrutinise what is going on and to see with these discussions that we have our say and to report back to the British people on how well or otherwise their wishes are being represented by the state representatives. This is a role of huge importance because I tell you now with absolute certainty that the forces of the UK and EU establishment are trying to scupper Brexit and the will of the British people. This is not simply a battle to achieve national sovereignty and independence. It is a battle for the democratic wishes of the people to be upheld. If this battle is lost, we have lost not only the dream of freedom, but the pretense of democracy. If we fail to carry the process of full Brexit through, it will be the death of democracy and the birth of a new era, the era of the technocrats, people who know better than us, mere citizens, and will govern us unencumbered by annoying distractions like election results. We must win. The age of technocracy must not dawn in our country, because should we fail, then all of Europe will surely suffer the same fate. Some of the smaller countries already have. Once again, the British people have a huge responsibility to defend the principle of democratic freedom in the Western world. We must not shrink from this or allow our establishment masters to make us yield to fear. We're better than that. Brexit will not be watered down or stopped. We must make a stand for democracy, for freedom, for honesty and truth, for the love of our great nation and its people. Let's stand together. If we do, nobody can deny our will, and the British people will once again see a happy future ahead of them, and a new era of confidence, self-belief and optimism awaits us. The future is ours to claim.